You gotta love NIL, Ralph. We live in an era where high school kids are announcing their partnerships to shoe companies. Elite high school prospect Tay Kinney, point guard, is signing with Adidas, signs a partnership with
Mhm.
Adidas. Tay Kinney, who is from Newport, Kentucky, plays for OTE, which is sponsored by Adidas in Atlanta. Also is on the circuit with Wildcat Select, which is a part of the Adidas kind of AAU circuit. So a lot of things are pointing to him being a part of the Adidas family. Tay Kinney is also a prospect that has a very, very large social media following, given, his time with OTE and just in general, he's one of the more popular kids on TikTok and every other social media kind of aspect of it. Also, Tay Kinney has game. All right, Tay Kinney is being recruited by a lot of different schools, including Kentucky, Purdue, Louisville, to name just a few schools on there. Also, a few schools that are and aren't Adidas schools. Indiana is also in the mix for that. So Tay Kenny announces his Adidas deal. What does this mean for him, I guess, in the schools that he's pursuing? Because the immediate thing that came to me when I saw this, the Newport, Kentucky native signed with Adidas.
Mhm.
Blink twice if Pat Kelsey's in the room with you, Tay Kenny. Like that's the first thing that came to my mind. Am I wrong to think that? Is it still, do other schools still have just as good of a chance, even if they are not an Adidas school?
I think other schools still have a very good chance. Like he's got visits set up to Oregon. You're not going to go visit Oregon if you're only doing Adidas. You know what I mean? That being said, it's got to give Adidas schools some slight bump, but the shoe companies don't have as much power over where recruits go as they used to. It wasn't really a result of the NIL or the FBI investigation. It's more of a result of NIL, quite frankly. And there is a separation now between prospects' individual deals and schools. Like Cooper Flag last year was signed with New Balance.
Yeah.
He wasn't going to Boston College to play in the New Balance gear, right? He was still going to Duke to play and wear all the Nike stuff. That's going to happen. But Adidas can use Tay Kinney, as you mentioned, on social media to promote Adidas, can use him in commercials and promotional things. So there are things Adidas gets out of it other than steering him to an Adidas school. That said, may there be more lucrative opportunities if they can use him with Louisville gear during the season or so much? Yeah, sure, absolutely. But I think we're at a point now where it's operating much more like the professional level, where Patrick Mahomes has an Adidas deal, but he still wears all the Nike stuff because Nike's got the deal with the NFL. But he's in all the Adidas commercials just in generic gear, right? Whenever he's in the State Farm commercial or whatever Patrick Mahomes is in, it's going to be something like that. I don't think it eliminates anybody. It may give a slight bump per se to a Louisville and other Adidas schools on his list, but this is far, far from the end all be all.
Yeah, I think it gives a slight bump to those Adidas schools, like you said. But I mean, even on the same token, like I remember this being a thing with Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey, both Nike
Right.
athletes. And Rutgers is an Adidas school, I'm pretty sure. So like
Correct.
that was a whole thing as well. Even though I think Rutgers is switching to Nike soon here, but like I think it does a little bit for recruiting, but I don't think it's gonna mean the end all be all at the end of the day. Like I came on here and said, "Oh, that's Pat Kelsey's music," and I do believe that because I do think that Pat Kelsey has done a good job at leveraging his Adidas like recruits. Like Michael
Mhm.
Brown was one of the best players on the Adidas circuit. Played for OTE as well, who was just sponsored by Adidas, and now he's going to Louisville to leverage that. Like that's definitely a real thing. Um, but also Kentucky's still Kentucky, and let's just say this: if Tay Kenny wants to go to Kentucky, they'll be just fine with letting him wear Adidas and do what he wants to do, I think, in that regard, right?
Yeah, like you wear the team issued stuff, which at Kentucky would be all Nike, but you don't have to wear that when you're not like at practice or in games. You can walk around campus in Adidas stuff, right? You can go on trips in Adidas stuff. You can do all of that. So we are removed from just a couple of years ago when it was, if you're on the EYBL circuit, you're going to a Nike school. If you're on the Adidas circuit, you're going to an Adidas school. We're removed from that. Still plays a factor, but it is no longer the end all be all like it was even just a couple of years ago.
Yeah, it's not the end all be all. With that said, congrats to Pat Kelsey. I think Tay Kinney will be a good ad for your basketball team. This means a lot, and for all the Louisville fans who are throwing the L's up out there, go ahead and say and that you want a recruitment over Mark Pope
What's the word when you have like everything aligned? It starts with an S and I can't think of it right now.
with
Synergy,
with synergy.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, synergy. Committing to Louisville or an Adidas school would create just synergy between your branding and promotions where you're playing and all that stuff. And that helps, but you're not making as they say, this is a 40-year decision, not a 4-year decision. You're
Oh,
not making that based off synergy.
yeah. All right, Mark Pope. That's crazy. 40-year bar there. Last thing I'll say on this, being the 32-year-old man that I am, that is way too chronically online, and that includes TikTok and Instagram and all
When
that.
did I get to be older than you?
You've always
I
been older than me, Ralph.
I just turned 33. Goodness
Yeah,
gracious.
you've always been. Yeah, and I'll hold that over. I'm the young pup. No, I'm not
You're
the young.
gonna hold a lot over me because you're 6'7".
That's damn Skippy. You're right. I am. I'll say this: Tay Kinney is a player that is very, very much cognizant of his brand and who he is. So I think this Adidas deal is going to hold a lot more weight than maybe somebody else would, as we talked about the other ones. But it'll be interesting to see what this kind of how this plays out, and where Tay Kenny ends up playing. Really good player. Excited to see kind of how his the rest of his high school recruitment works out.